just wanted to do a quick video discussing the price action of Take-Two Interactive today. As you can see, quite the day with a 6% rising, and of course that's attributed to the rumor from earlier in the morning that Sony is in high-level talks in purchasing Take-Two with a value of around $130 a share. Now, of course, that's very exciting and quite a bump from the around $90 it was just a day ago. And the stock has been beaten down considerably, so any positive news or rumor of news will definitely boost the price, and it definitely did. The big question is whether or not that rumor has any sort of credence to it, or it's worth putting money into it. And I kind of want to discuss kind of my opinion on that. One thing I did want to mention is that the original source of the rumor quoted from MarketWatch was quoted later on in the day by Business Insider, that they didn't have any direct involvement, and they were pretty much backtracking the original statements released by MarketWatch, stating that there is no direct confirmed sources. They stated that the original report that they released was that there's rumors, unconfirmed rumors of mergers and acquisitions revolving around Take-Two. Nowhere did it specifically mention that Sony was going to buy them, and nowhere did it mention the $130 specifically price tag to do so. I do find it odd the $130 is not even the 52-week high for Take-Two. And, Take-Two is not in a position where it needs to be sold. They're not a weak company by any means. I don't think that they're looking to be bought out, and I don't think they would sell themselves, to Sony for that amount. They have some of the strongest, really, brands, intellectual property out there. And in order to further those brands and to have longevity in those brands, they have to be available across in multiple platforms. Once you get onto Sony's closed ecosystem, not being on PC or Xbox anymore, it's going to shrink those brands considerably over time. That being stated, the future, there is definitely a possibility of having a future where there is no home consoles, and it's all going to be played without physical Xboxes or PlayStation 4s or Switches in the future. So by that logic, Sony would be purchasing studios. You can see Microsoft already doing so by purchasing smaller studios like Obsidian. I just don't see Sony putting so much resources into purchasing Take-Two, and I don't see that price being the price that they would sell themselves for, because you have to factor in the future revenue. I mean, Take-Two was at $130 last year, and there was no mention at that point of any sort of scheduled release date for Grand Theft Auto 6 or anything like that. Once you have to factor in the future growth for their brands and what value that brings to investors. Short term, of course, it's going to boost the stock with the rumor, but I think Take-Two sees much higher value in terms of their long term growth than a short term boost to getting back to $130. I see them taking the long approach and building up that price value naturally instead of being bought out. Now, to be fair, I think it's important to mention that just because Sony doesn't buy them doesn't mean it's not possible to be targeted by someone else. People were mentioning that Microsoft would buy them, possibly. Microsoft, purchasing smaller studios, I don't see them purchasing Take-Two. If that was their intention, I think they would have foregone the smaller studios and just bought Take-Two Interactive outright. There's no point, in my opinion, to buy multiple studios and then purchasing the biggest studio you could possibly buy at that point. And that also, we want to mention with Microsoft, there was a rumor with them last year about purchasing EA, Electronic Arts, and that didn't come to be. And there was a boost in the stock price short term of about 10%, and then it kind of whittled back down to where it was before that. So there isn't a whole lot of credibility to the rumor. There's been in the past a similar rumor with similar price action, and the stock kind of retreated back in price. What I would say is, if you're buying the stock in the hopes of the deal going through, I think that's the wrong move to make. I think the best choice of action is to kind of, there's nothing wrong with owning shares. I think it's, if there's any pullback, it's good to add for long-term shares. I think any sort of options play, there's going to be a lot of volatility the next couple weeks over this. I wouldn't go on either side of that just because you don't know. There's so much unconfirmed, rumors that's kind of hard to dispute when everything's just unconfirmed and they can change it, at the drop of a hat. I would say that any, big pullbacks or anything like that, it's good to add for a long-term position, but I wouldn't, be putting a whole lot of money into the rumor and expecting, X, Y, and Z to happen anytime soon. But that's just my opinion. So I'm not a financial advisor of any kind. Always do your own due diligence and research on your end. I think it's always best to be wary on, rumors and things like that. I think this is a great long-term company, no matter how you look at it, rumor or not. It's a great company. I just think that if you're pouring in a lot of money expecting a short, pop or a continuous rise to get to that 130, I think that's a little bit misplaced. I think the best course of action is just kind of, observing it and, adding upon, pullbacks and things like that. I think this rumor, there's just too much unknown around it to kind of jump in head first and, considering, it being pretty much a done deal, which I don't believe it is. I believe it's just a bunch of, rumors that can't be, substantiated or anything like that. And I would kind of, play accordingly. Thank you.